Hello, so today I'm going to another quick collage art influences, and this is one that I didn't realize was one of my influences because of some of the record covers that he'd done for his own band, and I didn't know it was him. And this is Dick Lucas, from the lead singer for the original Subhumans, but also after that, Culture Shock and Citizen Fish, and all the three overlap sometimes. So, and the reason why I didn't realise I'd had some of these record covers like this one here for the when he entitled Millennium Madness, because it was a cover for the Citizen Fish album Millennium Madness, which I have on CD, and I'm going to go into that with one of my favourite record covers. In fact, they're another band who are going to have a few of those, because there's the cover art for Flinch, which I have to actually pull out my vinyl and see if it says whether Dick did it, and the same for another one. Its name escapes me for some reason. Like I said, I've got a terrible memory for names. But here I'm going to use his Destroy Art page. There's on the Destroy Art site. There's got a page dedicated to some prints of his artwork. So they've done some work together. And so I'm going to be focusing mostly on his collages for obvious reasons. But as you can see here, he does a lot of surrealist type painting. That's the man himself. And they have the same kind of look and feel to them as the collages. Certainly the feel. But I'm going to do the collages. Talk about these because they are of the similar kind of ilk that I've always done. And like this is what I talk about collage being going hand in hand with the punk movement, because obviously he was and is still the singer for one of the premier anarcho punk bands. So this is a T-shirt of one of his pieces called War, but there's also a print of it, so I'll bring that up. If you hear a bit of tapping, I'm doing it on touch screen as opposed to my um, mouse, because it just looks a lot easier that way. So yeah, you can see they've actually made it a bit more stark. But this is exactly the kind of um, artwork that I grew up in. You can see the similarities because of both being anarcho punk bands, between that and some of the stuff you find from Crass. It's a bit like mine. Well, mine is a little bit like that in the way, more so than with the Smiths, in the fact that while his a lot of stuff is anti-war, it still has a kind of. It's not. This is grittier. Is a way of looking at it. It's a lot more brutal. I don't know if it's because he obviously took the material. He took a lot of his pieces from where American adverts. It's Americana look, so it's going to have that Americana look. So it's going to be looked not so much sanitized, but it's not going to be as gritty. With with him, G. Vorter, and I being British, we've got or grew up in Britain. Whether we identify as British, just speak to each individual person. Um, it's it has a certain grittiness that we grew up with, um, where things are a lot starker here. Is why this is why when you talk about the two nuclear war films of that era of the 80s. So first, America had released the day after beforehand, and then in 1984, the BBC um, released Threads. Threads was actually in production around similar time. Mick Jones had like about a year of research before he even started principal photography. Um, the day after, as horrific as it's it is very much like a soap opera in comparison to Threads, and that's because maybe if because they released Threads in the US and a lot less people watched it. I think they would have people would have maybe switched off a bit more with something like that. That's that as gritty and realistic as Threads was, because over here we used to like a bit more gritty realism. The America, everything's a bit more sparkle and sanitized. All that's the impression anyway. Any American viewers, please, if I'm wrong, absolutely let me know. I'm sure there's some places in America, obviously some places in America, that aren't sparkle and sanitized, obviously. But the media will still try and be all entertainment and the American dream. We never really had that. So it's also the fact this is why we're a lot used to grittier and things being tough because I don't know if it's because and we're actually had bombed during the Second World War, which America never was. Pearl Harbor is American territory; it's not American mainland. First time American mainland had been bombed by a non-American um, was um, was 9/11, and while we would have still had a strong reaction to it, we probably wouldn't have freaked out as much because we're used to many years of bombings from the IRA. So that's why things are a bit grittier, and so they both artists on the other from America are anti-war. They won't have Some of them won't have the same punch to it that something like this will, or the same. But that's just because of the material he's using. He's obviously, I know for sure Winston Smith is every bit as anti-war as Dick Lucas. It's just these are the materials we use to make the message. So they're both different ways, slightly different ways of saying the same thing. No, both are absolutely just as valid, and sometimes his will slip and will get past the disgust filter that some people will have, where they will just switch off because it's you can you can say things, you can catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Um, so here, back to the actual artwork, you go Madonna with child and cutlery. This is but this is like using uh, mostly vintage um, material. It's a bit like it reminds me a little of my child I can't leave painting I can't leave alone because I was piece because it's Madonna and the child, but this one doesn't have St John the Baptist, but it's still got a window in the background, which is probably quite common for those Italian paintings. So, and these are very good tools for us collage artists because you could do all kinds of things by having something that doesn't belong in the window, and just add all kinds of weirdness. And you've got them holding cutlery, and so this is you could tell of Dick's sense of humour with something like that. This one was just meant to be silly and funny, and it's still a bit subversive in the fact of how we are changing how reality looks. Um, this is called accelerated learning. I don't know if this is a pop metaphor. No idea. The only thing is the smoke that makes me think that, and the fact that some people believe it was a way of in our uh, in our past to accelerate our evolution, but that's kind of beyond the scope of this conversation or my knowledge of these things. Again, some good surrealism. Putting clocks where they're not supposed to be is always good surrealist, and just to add weirdness. Some of these, not all of these, are political. So some of them are just good surrealism. So he's been doing this quite a while. There's one from 1998. So I think he did a lot of Subhumans and Citizen Fish records. So again, look at the Millennium Madness one. I'll be looking at that one more closely. I'll be probably coming back to this. Looking more closely later on. We'll probably be coming back to this this page more because this is a better. This is a much better way of looking at it up close than me pulling out my CD. Because this is one I've got on CD. There's one, the Flinch one I've got on vinyl, and I can't remember. I can't remember the name of the title of that. I want to look Subhumans album, something about postcards. I mean citizen fish. So fish records. Thirst. I don't know why I thought of postcards. Although I did have one called Wider Than a Postcard. But Thirst. And this is a bit more collagey. I know about one thing I know about this cover is they I can't remember if they wrote it in the actual liner notes or if it's just something that's something I read in an interview. But this was based on a bottle of Polish beer that they had when they were out there. Also, this must be one of Dick's as well. I haven't got that one, and this is the flinch one. This quite likely might be one of his, but I'll see if I find that out once I actually get to do it, and because I had a look at the cover art when looking up for this, and I didn't it didn't say on the CD on the front and back, but then that's just the front and back, not the booklet. I have this somewhere as well. This psychological background reports. It's just like some kind of bonus CD that came through. There was mail order only, but this is some of his. So this collage artwork, whether it's actually his or not, that's another matter. That's something I will look into. So yeah, that's his artwork. As like I said, it's been influencing me without knowing it's him because I've these are some of the records that I bought, and I was like, this is really good artwork, and I wanted to do something like this, and even if it's and even sometimes it's not when I'm instantly going to do something like this. Is the fact that these people are doing this was keeping me going and making me want to do this more. So the early Subhumans ones. As I've done, as you see, I've done one of my favorite record covers was their Rats EP. I think I'm trying to remember which one I did. Obviously, a lot of it was hand drawn stuff. So, but there were still some elements of that of the colour art, um, punk aesthetic in that. But it's more. I think maybe he got interested in doing this more. Like I haven't done. No, I've never. I've only spoken to him once, and that was years and years and years and years ago. And I never really and I spoke about that, and it was very brief. I spoke to him, so I never really asked about that. So let me know what you think. Check out this, and if you feel like um, if you feel like parting with some cash for some art, you've got here on the Destroy Art website. You can see you should be able to see the URL in my in the taskbar in the video, or just look it up. I mean, you could just look up Dick Lucas Collage, and this will turn up in the search results. They're all very reasonably priced as you can see. So let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Description has my link tree, and which has my merch links on my socials. And also has my Patreon. And I shall speak to you soon. Thank you.